Topic 3, culture. Ben, I'm going to put you on the hot seat straight away. How do you define good culture?
Good culture for me is a place that is, or a organization that you work that is diverse, equitable, and inclusive. So yeah, I mean that is obviously the modern day terminology in DE&I, and that's really kind of how we look at it. I think when you kind of distill those down, what that is a founder's objectives to make the business diverse, equitable, and inclusive, so that everyone operates in the most performant way.
And is that what other effects does culture have on a company other than just increase in performance? What else does it do?
Yeah, so there's a lot of workshops that I do with companies around developing values, because and a lot of people look at values and say they're just words on a wall, right? It's a bit of a palm off, but the reality of it is that it's more behaviors. And so when you have values that really kind of embody certain kind of values that the founder believes in, like risk of failure, or humility, or kind of, if you want to shoot for the stars, there's going to be multiple things to that people might be scared of. But if you allow people to embrace it, you allow innovation, you allow speed, you allow failure and iteration, and those things are really important. So for me, for culture to really work well, you've got to have a set of values and behaviors that people operate towards, that fall in line with how you want to build the business. And I think there's a shift from startups, or there's a shift that's been happening into the startup world, away from this sort of corporate kind of restriction to how companies operate, that really does allow people to be able to kind of express themselves, be included, have crazy ideas, and obviously then move the needle in where the business can go.
And do you think culture should be considered when hiring people in terms of understanding whether an individual can fit into the culture? Do you think that's like a major aspect, or do you feel like you can shape a person into a culture?
I think the question is never culture. The question is behaviors and values, because culture fit becomes very biased. I mean, it's, unless you define that terminology in a way that says, here's what I mean by culture, then really what it is that we're talking about is we have a set of principles, values, and behaviors of which we like to abide by. And that's just what good people should do. It should be, fair and equitable. So yeah, I think definitely when interviewing, it's really important to be able to bake in the values and behaviors that are, abundant in the business and that you want, and then ask questions to be able to understand how people feel about those values. Where you have Amazon versus Google, they're two very different cultures. Amazon tend to lean towards a culture where you can be overridden on your decision in many ways, and sometimes people can feel stifled in creativity, but that's very performant for them. Whereas at Google, it might be a case where the most junior people that are most relevant to the market or product that they're building come up with the crazy ideas and they run with it. And so it's kind of this layers of hierarchy that can be defined as culture is really just an operating structure with a bunch of behaviors and values built into it. So yes, always interview people based on the values and behaviors that are common in your business, and yeah, you'll bring in people that will be like-minded, but most importantly resilient to the way in which your business operates.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I mean, I never heard anyone kind of take note on culture like that. So I'm definitely gonna have to watch this back myself and try and yeah, build that into Uppercent as we scale. So thank you for that. And yeah, that's the end of the topic on culture. Next up, we will be looking at building teams.